Hi again then guys, and welcome to, of course, another tune setup for one of the 1.41 selection of vehicles, this time the last car of the 5 that we're tuning, the Honda S800. Now you'll have noticed from the thumbnail and the title that this is a rally tune, not the usual, for instance, N100 circuit build that I would typically do for a car like this. And the reason for that I will expound on more later on in the review, and you'll see from the lap times as well. But basically it's just not all that quick in N100. It's not bad, and on really tight circuits, for instance if the GT Arena were still in the game, it would be brilliant. It would be a force to be reckoned with because it's so compact, it's so light, and the average speed is so good, but it just doesn't have the straight line power to worry any of the top level K cars in this category. Even stuff like the classic Mini, for instance, can handily beat it. Now as far as why I've done a rally tune, it's simply because A, it's fun, and B, it actually works to all of the strengths of the car. And referencing that classic Mini again, why was that car so good? Because it was small, it was light, and it was fast through corners. It didn't need huge power and torque. Likewise with this car, on the dirt, it really comes into its own. As far as I'm concerned, I think it feels better off-road than it does on-road, actually. Now, as far as the upgrades, you want to drop the weight as low as it can go. Then, as far as power, I would, of course, recommend improving that as high as it can go, which is still well under N100 anyway. As far as traction control, of course, you want that turned off. Now, incidentally, just before we proceed, you want to make sure that your setup is under this section here, the dirt section at the top, because if you build it under the standard one, which will be road, then take it onto a dirt track, it will swap you to dirt and you'll lose all of your settings. So make sure that you do that first, otherwise you'll be wasting your own time basically. So of course you want dirt tyres. As far as the suspension, we've got the ride height on 180mm, which is high, but it's not crazy high. The car actually has quite a lot of ground clearance even when you lower it, so it's not too much of a worry. As far as the frequency, I've gone for kind of my silly soft tune style, like with the Ford Raptor or the classic muscle cars that I've done for rallying, where you just make it really soft and it makes it really fun, super wallowy through corners, but it actually ends up being very fast because of that as well, because you've really got the ability to soak up all the bumps in the road that you just don't have with really stiff suspension. So we've got that as low as possible. Anti-roll is also as low as it can go, and of course that's more of the side-to-side movement than the back-to-front. As far as the compression on the dampers, we've got that as low as possible, along with the rebound as well. We've got neutral camber. You really do not need any on this car. It's so good through corners. As far as toe, that is also neutral. Of course, there's no downforce to worry about. As far as the diff, of course you could change this up if you want to. I think it's pretty much the sweet spot at 35 and 5 for me. So if you want to try something else, by all means do so, but I'd recommend trying that one first and seeing what you think. And then finally, of course, for the gearbox, you want the fully customized transmission, and these gears are in particular if you do fully upgrade it. So, of course, you'll want closer gears if you don't have this kind of power. So the auto setting is as low as possible. Then we've put the first gear all the way to the right, which improves the launch off the line. As you can see, it's got 4.2 for acceleration, which you don't typically have with the race gearbox. We've got 2.4 for second, 1.8 for third, then 14.55 for fourth, and 11.75 for fifth. Now the car will get up around probably 115, 120 on the road, but of course on a dirt track, you don't tend to be going that high that often. You rarely go above 100 in this thing, at least on most rally tracks. So 11.75 might even still be a bit too long for some people. So you could make that even higher if you want to, say up around 1200, maybe a little bit higher. But again, test that out, see what you prefer, and also see what you need, depending on the track. Then finally, as you can see, that final drive is 44.75. So that's it for the tune. Of course, there's always tons of room for personal twist and variation with my tune setups, but what you want to see is, what can this actually do as a rally car? Well, one thing that it can definitely do is give you a whole lot of fun, because this thing feels brilliant on the dirt, and although I haven't fully tested the limits of its, lap time capabilities, it is the slowest car that I've built in this kind of style, but at the same time, it's only 2 seconds off the pace of my N400 Ford Raptor. So 300 horsepower less, way less torque, and yet it's still only 2 seconds behind it, and it's so much quicker in terms of how it feels. And through corners, you can basically take the whole lap at almost full throttle with barely any brakes used at all. It's brilliant. It's so much fun. The soft suspension and the soft anti-roll just really adds to that feeling of just a pure classic rally experience, and it's so much fun. And it feels to me like it's a far more competitive car off-road, for instance in N100, than it would be on-road, because it simply doesn't have the power there, whereas off-road, that doesn't matter too much. But overall, that's it for this tune. Of course, give it a try. I hope you have a ton of fun with it. It's very fun to use. And of course, if you want to check out my other builds, click here on screen to see those. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.